All right, welcome back to Fanon International Boxing. This is your boy Fanon, and we're going to talk about Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and Bob Arum in this video. Bob Arum is a very interesting guy, man. He can feign outrage better than about anybody that I know. So in this particular instance, he is complaining about, or rather taking advantage of the fact that Deontay Wilder did not say anything at a press conference when he was face to face with Tyson Fury, and that he didn't say anything or stick around for the media to ask him questions. And this is what he said. He says, he said, Deontay Wilder said Mark Breland doped his water so he couldn't perform. That is insanity. He said that referee Kenny Bayless was drunk. That is insanity. The gloves that Fury had were somehow not correct. Crazy. The gloves don't go to anybody except the commission. They're locked up. They are put on with all the cameras there in the dressing room. So what's he talking about? Blah, yada, 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 yada. If I said something like that, I'd also put on headphones so nobody could ask me questions about it. Yeah, Bob, or maybe what he knows is that the media is bought and paid for, so why should he waste his time even talking to him? Specifically because everybody in the media, including Bob Arum, was acting like this third fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury wasn't even going to take place. Was it insanity when he said that he was going to get that third fight? Right? Or was it insanity when Bob Arum said that the contract that expired, that was a plain reading of it, and that's just what it is. So, it's before we get into the meat of it, I just have every time that Bob Arum opens his mouth about this fight, how about they ask questions of Tyson Fury like, "Hey Tyson, why didn't you want this fight? And does that lead anybody to believe that maybe Deontay Wilder might have been right about what he said?" Anyway, I don't find it insanity for Deontay Wilder to stand up for himself. In fact, I think it's insanity not to stand up for yourself, right? So the fact that he didn't say anything to the media, come on, give me a break, man. But let's go through with what exactly Bob Arum's issues were with Deontay Wilder. So first and foremost, he says, Breland doped his water so he couldn't perform. That is insanity. If that's the case, then why do other boxers say that they've had their water tainted? It is not an unknown fact that people have messed with the water of boxers in the past. In fact, Tyson Fury himself seems to know that's the case, because in the press conference after the Deontay Wilder-Tyson Fury fight, he was very adamant that he was not going to be drinking any water other than the water that was brought by his team, because he was afraid of somebody putting something in the water. Now, also, seeing as Bob Arum himself has been involved in his company, Top Rank, have been involved in all kind of scandals related to funny business going on in the ring. If you were at a Top Rank fight, I would think that you'd be insane not to be looking out for how somebody might be trying to take advantage of you. But let's move on to the second. He says that the referee, Kenny Bayless, was drunk. I've never heard that. That may be insane. If he said that, I don't know why that. As many times as I've heard Deontay Wilder's complaints about the first and the second fight, Kenny Bayless being drunk was not one of them. So if he did say that, is it insanity? I don't know. Was Kenny Bayless drunk? It's not impossible. How about before you say that it's insanity, you actually go and check out to see whether something that was the case or not. So in the case of Mark Breland and this dope water, Deontay Wilder he was very, very insistent that his water was tainted, and he went to doctors. So my sources, or the sources, I won't call them my sources, but the sources that have been out there that are attributed to being close to Deontay Wilder, said that he had proof that his water had been tainted, which was his toxicology report on the blood, on his blood that was taken after the fight. Because when he gets his along with the dent that was in his head. So the next one, the gloves that Fury had somehow were not correct. Crazy. Really? That's crazy? Was it crazy of Miguel Cotto to suspect Miguel Cotto, by the way, on a Top Rank card, to suspect Antonio Margarito in his gloves? Because Antonio Margarito was found to be wearing loaded gloves in a fight with Shane Mosley, or was trying to get into the ring with Shane Mosley with loaded gloves. Shane Mosley beat him, and then in the next fight that he had with a rematch that he had with Miguel Cotto beat him up and beat him from pillar to post. What happened to the punching power of Antonio Margarito? And Antonio Margarito was a fighter being pushed very heavily by Top Rank. Also, let's go back a little further to the Luis Resto fight. Luis Resto versus Billy Collins. Was it insanity when Billy Collins' trainer grabbed the hand of Luis Resto and squeezed on the padding and said, "Hey man, there's no padding in this glove"? Now, how did that take place? Those gloves were also checked. They didn't just start checking gloves. They were checking gloves then. And so that is 2 cases of people getting into the ring with loaded gloves. That is not something that is unheard of in the sport of boxing. And the fact that the commission looked at him and locked up, look, Amir Khans answered that question when Amir Khans said they're custom gloves. He said that there are gloves that you can get made specifically for your hand, and the padding is going to be distributed the way that they want it distributed. And that's going to be done with the manufacturer. And so as long as the gloves are checked and the gloves are the proper weight, they're going to approve the gloves. They, as far as my understanding, do not check the distribution of the weight of the distribution of the padding in the gloves. And here's something else you might want to think. If they're wearing 10 or 12 ounce gloves, and you have, say somebody is wearing 12 ounce gloves, that is, or 10 ounce gloves, forget which the heavyweight one is. I think that heavyweight might be 12 ounces. Forgive me for not being, you can put it in the comment section to correct me. If you have really big hands, and say somebody's like a heavyweight that is, 5'11", 210 pounds, like a Mike Tyson, versus somebody that's 6'9" and 300 pounds like Tyson Fury. The size of Tyson Fury's hands are much bigger than that of Mike Tyson. So how do you know, and they're both wearing gloves that are the same size, that weigh the same amount? Well, you're not going to have as much weight being allocated to the knuckles in the situation where you have a really big guy. So I'm just really not trying to hear all that nonsense. But most of all, to call Deontay Wilder insane or crazy because he's standing up for himself and he believes Tyson Fury cheated. Dude, Tyson Fury wasn't accused by Deontay Wilder of doing anything that Tyson Fury had not already been caught doing. Specifically, the tampering of the gloves with Christian Hamer. He got into a ring with a glove where he had disconnected the thumb from the glove and he got caught in the fight. Also, he was sparring with people with no padding in the gloves, and that is per Nicholas Asbury. So I'm sorry, man. You can call people insane as you want to, but if they're wrong, but if they're right, they're right. And in this particular instance, this next fight coming up, Tyson Fury is not going to be able to use, or should not be able to use, any of the illegal tactics that he used in the first 2 fights to try to pull out a win. But we'll see when the fight takes place. And right, the fight is taking place despite what Tyson Fury and Bob Arum swore was going to be the case. So anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think. And with that, I'm out. Peace.